Well, Nebraska has really honed in on two guys to take the interior offensive line spots on their 2026 recruiting class. Now, there are guys like Hayden Ainsworth that we included in yesterday's breakdown of the tackle prospects, Deacon Schmidt as well, even maybe Moses Sparks. All are guys that can be tackle or guards at the collegiate level. Right now, like I said yesterday, I think Nebraska's looking at them as a tackle prospect. However, don't be shocked if Nebraska gets them and then they slide them inside. It's entirely possible, but there's two guys that Nebraska's really locked in on. And then there's another big-time interior offensive line prospect that Nebraska has completely fallen out of his recruitment, and that's who we're going to talk about first. We're going to start with the bad news, and then we'll go to the good news. So the guy we're talking about, I'm not even going to pull his profile up. It's going to be, a quick 30-second summary. Jax Tanner, 3-star, 4-star, depending on your service, 6'4", 290 or so pounds. Nebraska built really good relationships with Jax Tanner. However, his recruitment just didn't pan out. It just kind of just slowly faded, and other teams rose, and Nebraska eventually, I don't think they've lost communication. They're still going to keep communicating a little bit, but I certainly think they're shifting their focus to the guys we're going to talk about here in just a second. So with that, you're going to see that big push for the first guy on our board, which is Rex Waterman. You're going to see them shift a lot of that recruitment from Jax over to Rex. Now, they've already been recruiting him very hard for quite a while. 3-star, 6'5", 300 plus pounds, currently plays tackle at his school down in Arizona. Previously visited Nebraska twice, once for February 1st Elite Junior Day, which is when his recruitment really kind of felt more realistic for Nebraska, in the sense that was when we first heard Nebraska was putting in a lot more effort with Rex Waterman. And then he also visited in the springtime for one of the spring practices as well. Now, who else is involved with his recruitment? You're looking at Boise State, you're looking at Duke, UCLA, Arizona State, the home state school offered. I just don't think there's much traction there between the two parties. So that's why I'm focusing mainly on Boise, Duke, and UCLA. Now, I think Duke is quietly a factor in his recruitment. They've been recruiting him probably longer than Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken. He's visited Duke multiple times as well. He's officially visiting Duke as well. Boise State offered in the spring. They're going to become a factor. They're going to push a lot harder for an official visit and a commitment. And then the one team you need to watch in the Big Ten is UCLA. The reason why you need to watch them is because I think they've kind of figured out some things with their NIL. I think with this new offensive coaching staff at UCLA, they've identified where their biggest gaps are outside of quarterback now, because they just got the Amaliba brothers. However, grand scheme of his recruitment, I like where Nebraska sits. They're in a great spot. It's tough to get a read on if Nebraska's first or second or third in this group of schools. But I think we have a very good chance to pull this off. I think we have a very good chance to land Rex's commitment. 2 previous visits on his own dime and an official visit coming up on June 6th. The other gentleman that we're going to talk about is Mr. Ryan Morett. 3-star, a composite 3-star. I believe Rivals has him as a 4-star, though. This is a really intriguing prospect down in Miami. Here's the thing, too, with his recruitment. He has a teammate who's a consensus 4-star defensive end, who is currently committed to Syracuse, who's being recruited by Nebraska to flip, as well as Florida State. And I think Nebraska is actually going to pull the flip off with his teammate Cameron Wilson. Florida State is going to be a little bit of a push, but I think it's a Nebraska-Florida State battle at the end of the day that Nebraska can win. His teammate Cameron Wilson flat out said, the Floor-Braska or Flow-Braska movement is real. There's tons of dudes on the roster. It's a home away from home. Those are his words. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said. It makes it a lot easier to recruit kids from far away when you've already got a bunch of them on your roster. And Ryan and Cameron are both big-time recruits with a lot of big-time Power 4 programs after them. And there's one school that both players are considering that they have in common, and that would be us, Nebraska. That is why I think Nebraska can pull this off. If we land one, we might land the other. Now, I don't think this is a package deal between Ryan and Cameron. However, I think anyone who has the opportunity to go to college with their high school teammate that they've spent 4 years with on the field grinding every single day, it makes that a little bit more easier decision to commit to a school as far away as Nebraska. Now, in terms of Ryan's recruitment, you're looking at Ole Miss as well as Miami to fill out his top group with Nebraska. As things sit right now, I think Miami is probably the favorite. Ryan is in Miami. He goes to Miami-Dade, I believe. However, there's one thing. Nebraska has been very consistent with their pitch. They've been very consistent with where they see him playing on this offensive line, which is center. He's the only player that Nebraska is recruiting where they have deemed him a fit for center. I think we're in a good spot. And if we can land Cameron, it'll put us in an even better spot. And here's the thing, too. Nebraska was in home, I think, a week or two ago. And then tonight, Coach Donovan Raiola is going to be in home with Ryan Morett and his family. And I wouldn't be shocked if he or other coaches swing by Cameron Wilson's. And it would be a hell of a move if they got all the families together for one big in-home visit. That would be one hell of a sales pitch. I don't know if they can do that. I don't know if they will, if they could, but it's just an idea. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all later.